Halloween Horror Story. The first story, The Haunting of Hollowbrook Manor. Halloween had always been my favorite time of year. As the leaves turned a fiery orange and the chill of autumn settled in, I relished the spine-tingling stories and the haunted houses that seemed to pop up in every corner of the town. This year, however, Halloween would take on a new, chilling significance, one that would haunt me for the rest of my life. It all began when I received an invitation to the Hollowbrook Manor's Halloween party. The Hollowbrook Manor was an old, imposing mansion on the outskirts of our town. It had always been shrouded in mystery and local legends. Some said it was cursed, while others believed it was haunted by the spirits of its former inhabitants. The invitation was peculiar, to say the least. It arrived in a jet-black envelope, sealed with a blood-red wax stamp in the shape of a sinister-looking raven. The card inside bore an elegant script, inviting me to the Hollowbrook Haunting Party on Halloween night. The invitation mentioned a hefty cash prize for the one who could spend the entire night in the mansion and prove its haunting rumors were nothing but old wives' tales. It was a challenge, and I couldn't resist. Hollowbrook Manor had a dark history. It was built by the enigmatic Randolph Hollowbrook in the late 1800s. The Hollowbrook family had always been a subject of local gossip, often mentioned in the same breath as curses and tragedy. The party was to be held on Halloween night, and the rules were simple. Participants were to arrive by nightfall and had to stay within the mansion until sunrise. Anyone who managed to do so would win the grand prize. I knew I had to take on this challenge. The thought of being alone in the eerie Hollowbrook Manor on Halloween night thrilled and terrified me simultaneously. I had always been skeptical of the supernatural, but the legends surrounding the house had always piqued my curiosity. The night of the party finally arrived. The moon was a pale, eerie crescent, casting long shadows across the overgrown lawn leading to Hollowbrook Manor. The wind howled through the gnarled trees surrounding the mansion, making the branches scrape against the windows, creating an unsettling symphony. As I approached the front door, it creaked open ominously, as though beckoning me inside. The entrance hall was dimly lit by flickering candle sconces, casting eerie, shifting shadows on the walls. The air was cold and carried with it a musty, ancient scent that I was not the only one who had accepted the challenge. A small group of individuals, ranging from thrill-seekers to skeptics, had gathered in the grand hall. Each of us had a lantern to light our way, but the feeble glow only served to deepen the darkness that seemed to engulf the mansion. The host of the party, a tall, wiry man in a top hat and a cloak, introduced himself as Mr. Hollowbrook, a descendant of the mansion's original owner. He welcomed us with an unsettling smile and led us on a tour of the house. It was a labyrinthine structure, with twisting corridors, hidden chambers, and staircases that seemed to lead to nowhere. We were told that once the doors were locked, we were on our own until sunrise. The first sign of dawn would signify our victory, and the prize money would be ours. Mr. Hollowbrook left us with an ominous warning: beware what you might discover within these walls. Not all hauntings are made of flesh and bone. The group split up, with each participant choosing a room to hunker down in for the night. I chose a room on the second floor, decorated in a style that could only be described as Victorian Gothic. Heavy curtains blocked out the moonlight, and the room had a gloomy air that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. As I settled into my room, I couldn't help but feel the weight of the legends that surrounded Hollowbrook Manor. The hours passed slowly, and the unsettling creaks and groans of the old mansion became my constant companions. Around midnight, I heard the faint strains of a melancholic piano melody drifting through the halls. It was soft, almost ethereal, and I couldn't help but follow the sound. I made my way through the labyrinthine corridors, guided by the haunting music. The source of the music was a grand, dimly lit ballroom. A woman in a tattered, white lace gown was playing the piano. She was ethereal, her fingers dancing over the keys as if she were lost in a timeless reverie. I approached her, my heart pounding. She looked up, her eyes hollow and lifeless, and whispered, "Dance with me." I hesitated, but something compelled me to take her ghostly hand. We danced in the moonlight, our footsteps echoing through the empty ballroom. It was as if I had been transported to another time, another era, and I was dancing with a spirit from the past. The dance seemed to go on forever, and just as I began to feel a strange sense of comfort in her company, the music abruptly stopped. The woman's eyes filled with sadness, and she whispered, "I'm sorry, but I must go now. Beware, for this place is cursed." With those words, she vanished, leaving me alone in the darkness of the ballroom. The encounter had shaken me to my core, and I made my way back to my chosen room with a newfound unease. The hours crept by, and I could no longer deny the unsettling atmosphere of Hollowbrook Manor. Shadows seemed to move on their own, and whispers echoed through the halls. I tried to convince myself that it was all part of the show, but doubt gnawed at me. Around 2 a.m., I heard a commotion from the room next door. Curiosity got the better of me, and I cautiously entered to find a group of my fellow participants huddled together, their faces pale and terrified. They claimed to have seen strange, ghostly apparitions and heard disembodied voices. One man described a spectral child who had beckoned him to follow, leading him into a hidden chamber filled with antique toys. Another woman claimed to have been pursued by a shadowy figure that resembled a grotesque, twisted version of a human. As we shared our experiences, it became clear that something malevolent lurked within the mansion. The night wore on, and the atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive. The lanterns dimmed, casting long, eerie shadows, and I could hear distant, mournful wails that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the mansion. I realized that the tales of Hollowbrook Manor being haunted were not mere legends but a chilling reality. As the hours passed, a sense of dread settled over us. It was clear that we were not alone in the mansion, and the spirits that inhabited it were growing more restless. My mind was plagued with questions. What had happened to the Hollowbrook family? Why were their spirits bound to this place? In the early hours of the morning, I found myself in the mansion's library, poring over old, dusty tomes. It was here that I uncovered a dark and tragic tale. The Hollowbrook family had indeed been cursed. It was said that Randolph Hollowbrook had made a Faustian pact, trading his soul for great wealth and power. The curse had been passed down through the generations, leading to madness, death, and untold suffering. As I read the words of the curse, I realized that the spirits we had encountered were not malevolent by nature. They were trapped, unable to find peace until the curse was broken. It was then that I felt a presence in the room, and I turned to find the ghostly figure of Randolph Hollowbrook himself. With hollow eyes and a voice filled with sorrow, he revealed the truth of his family's curse. He implored me to help him break it by locating an ancient amulet hidden within the mansion. This amulet was the source of the Hollowbrook's power, and it needed to be destroyed to free the spirits. I embarked on a desperate search for the amulet, with the guidance of Randolph Hollowbrook's ghost. The mansion seemed to shift and transform, as though it was actively trying to thwart my efforts. I encountered malevolent spirits that sought to drive me away, but I pressed on. At last, I found the amulet hidden in a hidden chamber deep within the mansion. It was an ornate, jewel-encrusted pendant, radiating an eerie, dark energy. As I touched it, a shiver ran down my spine, and I knew I had to destroy it to free the spirits. The task was not easy, and the amulet fought back with a supernatural force. But with the help of Randolph Hollowbrook and the other spirits, I managed to shatter it. A blinding, otherworldly light filled the chamber, and a sense of peace washed over me. The mansion itself seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. The sun began to rise, and the night was over. The other participants emerged from their rooms, their faces reflecting a mixture of fear and wonder. As we gathered in the grand hall, Mr. Hollowbrook appeared, his face a mix of astonishment and gratitude. He handed me the prize money and expressed his gratitude for breaking the curse that had plagued his family for generations. Hollowbrook Manor was forever changed. The spirits of the Hollowbrook family were finally free, and the mansion seemed to have regained a sense of life and vitality. The eerie legends and ghostly tales that had shrouded the place for so long had dissipated. As I left the mansion, I couldn't help but reflect on the events of that fateful Halloween night. I had come seeking a thrill and had found myself in the midst of a supernatural mystery. It was a night I would never forget, one that had opened my eyes to the existence of forces beyond our comprehension. Halloween would never be the same for me. It had transformed from a night of harmless scares into a night of true terror and revelation. Hollowbrook Manor had shown me that sometimes, the most haunting stories are the ones that happen in the darkest corners of reality, and the most profound mysteries are the ones we unearth when we dare to venture into the unknown.